How far can a simple toy go? What would you say if I told you that a toy can change your life forever, and sometimes not for the better? That this simple toy can distance you from your family and create a feeling stronger than love and more negative. It sounds exaggerated, doesn't it? So stay until the end of this video, because what I'm going to tell you will change the way you see toys forever. And let me tell you something in advance. This story doesn't end well. José was just a 10-year-old boy, and like many kids in the 80s, he didn't have access to everything. José's family was lower class, so he had to buy used shoes, used clothes. They got by little by little. Unlike many kids of that time, José's toys were generic, they were knockoffs, they were bootlegs as they're known now. This kind of toy was very common to find at flea markets, and street stalls. There were definitely expensive toys. Back then there were Thundercats. There was Mazinger Z, but not every kid could get them because they were expensive toys. José always came to school with a generic toy. His dad always tried to take good care of him. Even so, José lived peacefully, enjoyed his toys, but there was something he had always wanted. A remote control car, which at that time was very rare. There were remote control cars, but they had wires. The first car he remembered was the famous Renegade, one of the first wireless remote control cars that were an innovation in the 80s, even though it wasn't a very well-known toy, and now it's not highly regarded. For him, it was his dream. He always saw the commercials on television where this famous car appeared. There were two very important days, Santa Claus Day and Three Kings Day. All of José's hopes were set on the famous Renegade arriving on those days, but it never happened. Jeeps would arrive instead. Cars from strange brands would arrive, Hot Wheels cars, but the famous Jeep Renegade never came, until one day everything changed. I wish that had never happened. A few days before Christmas, he went into his brother's room. It's important to mention that his brother was almost 10 or 11 years older than José. The age difference was important because, unlike many siblings who spent time together, they didn't. There wasn't that presence, or at least not the brotherhood and support you usually feel between siblings. His brother already had his own life. He already had a child who was almost the same age as José, so it was difficult for them to have a bond. He goes into this room and sees a lot of packages. And at that moment, he saw a package that caught his attention. It was the famous Jeep Renegade. He didn't know what to do. He ran downstairs to his mom. Like crazy. Remember that when you're a kid, you make things seem much bigger. And when you're a kid and you see something you like, you see it as huge? Tell me if that's not true. When suddenly, as a kid, you saw a tree you used to play on, you saw it as something spectacular. And then when you go back as an adult, you realize it's just a tiny tree. But when you're a kid, you see everything as bigger. You see it as more spectacular. Tell me, don't you watch that cartoon you used to love as a kid and now it bores you? Same with video games. Sometimes you remember a game you really liked, and now you see it as just something ordinary. And it's because, as you grow up, you start losing that magic. José ran downstairs to his mom, really excited, to tell her that he had seen some toys, that he had seen some packages. Just when he was about to say, "Mom, I went up to my brother's room and guess what I saw?" his mom interrupted him and said, "What did you see?" When he saw the scared look on his mom's face, José decided to wait. He stayed quiet and said, "Nothing." Imagine what it was like for a 10-year-old boy who had been waiting a long time for something so special to see that. That maybe, suddenly, he could sneak in and go into the room and touch it, but he couldn't because he knew that if he got caught, there could be problems. It was then, on a Christmas morning, when he came to the tree and saw that box. Something went through his mind, I don't know what it was, but he had already relived that moment many times, opening that box and seeing that there was the famous Jeep Renegade. He saw the box, he knew the size, he didn't read the name, which was a big mistake, and he opened it. He opened the box, started playing with it, when his brother and his mom arrived, and they saw that he was playing with it. Something broke inside them. I can't explain what happened. They talked for a long time in the kitchen, while José kept playing with the car. When they arrived, they both smiled and went to buy some batteries so he could play with it. For many years, that Jeep was José's favorite toy. He cleaned it, played with it, and kept the batteries. He saved up all his allowance to buy batteries. He even asked his dad to stop buying him generic toys and just give him batteries instead. What was awakened in him by that toy changed Jose's life forever. A couple of years went by, and Jose's life revolved around that Jeep because he didn't have any friends. He was a very quiet, calm child, but at the same time, very lonely. He turned 13, and one day his parents thought he had grown up enough. Or at least that's what I think, because I can't find any other explanation for what happened. What happened is going to hurt you and surprise you. One Christmas, when Jose was between 12 and 13 years old, he went like every Sunday to take out his Jeep, but that day it wasn't there. He looked for it like crazy everywhere. He checked upstairs, downstairs, went to the basement. It was a big house, but at the end of the day, he didn't find it, and he never saw it again. He never knew what happened to it. It was a long night of crying. And you might think that 13 or 14 years old, you're already a teenager. You shouldn't have to feel that way anymore. But losing something you really liked, that marked your childhood, that you enjoyed, that you took care of, because that Jeep was like new. That Jeep hadn't been mistreated like many kids mistreat their toys. It was about cleaning it, taking care of it, keeping it in good condition. Even the tires, despite being used a lot, were always cleaned and well maintained. Or at least, that's what Jose tells us he remembers. The relationship with his brother was never good because the age difference was significant. The difference in character was significant. Jose was a calm child. Jose's brother was a police officer. He was a tough guy. He was someone who was always on alert, always on the lookout. There was a phrase from Jose's brother that Jose could never stand. His brother would always come to their mom and say, "If you don't cheat, you don't get ahead." The one who doesn't look out for himself first will always be a loser. I think those kinds of phrases made Jose change his outlook on life a lot. His brother was tough, he was strong. One day, out of nowhere, Jose's brother showed up with his son, who was about the same age as Jose, and he brought a very special toy. He brought the Renegade Jeep. When Jose saw that, he had a strange feeling, because even though he was older now, he couldn't help but remember the good times he had with it. First, the first thing he said was, "He has one just like it. Where did he get it?" But then he noticed something in particular. Every child knows their toys family. Every child knows what makes them special or what marks they got from playing with them, the scars their own toy carries. Boucher recognized several things and realized it was his Jeep. When he was about 17 one day, his mom was honest with him and told him that his brother didn't have money to buy a toy for his son at Christmas. They noticed that the Jeep was almost new in its box with its manuals and everything, and his brother decided to take it and give it to him for Christmas. Jose, now grown up, at first thought it was okay to support his brother, but deep down he had that feeling that he had never really been like a brother to him, that he had never been close, and had even taken something important from him. And don't take it the wrong way, family. It's not about judging. There are tough times when families support each other, but I think you should never take a child's favorite toy away from them. Sometimes parents, uncles, and siblings think that kids have already grown up, but there are toys that can change your life forever. There are toys that can leave a mark on you and make you more insecure as an adult. The main stage when a child grows, develops, and builds character is during adolescence, when they're young. When they're little, they start forming their character and getting to know their family. And something we should never do is lie to a child, because if you lie to them once, they won't believe you again. When his mom told him that, something broke in his bond with his parents and with his brother. For Jose, it wasn't just a simple toy, it was the moment when, after coming home from school, after a tough day of bullying, after a tough day with his classmates, after a tough day with the teachers, because Jose was different and a lot of people didn't understand him, he could come home with his toy and just be himself, be that child who had his freedom, create his own missions, and do so much more. And his own family had taken that away from him. And we come back to this part where it's just an object, just a simple toy. But remember what I told you earlier. Children magnify everything. For that boy, it wasn't just a simple toy. As time goes by, he grows up. His brother decides it's time to get closer to him now that he's more mature. He went from being a police officer to being a federal agent. That's something even more serious. Here, we're going to skip ahead in time. Jose grows up. He gets to be 17, 18 years old. He changes completely. He loosens up. From being a chubby, lonely kid with no friends, he becomes a young man. Slim, eager to take on the world. He starts making friends. He starts to experience um, fun, girls, partying, and suddenly, out of nowhere, his brother shows up with some motorcycles. Obviously, Jose didn't know how to ride a motorcycle, but he already had a very good friend who had access to, let's say, unlimited money. He was his best friend at that time. And one day, his brother shows up, and when he sees that Jose is looking at the motorcycles with an incredible look of excitement in his eyes, his brother says, "Well, if you fix them, they're yours." There were two. He picked the one he liked the most, a black motorcycle, beautiful in his eyes, because honestly, the motorcycle was really beat up. His brother thought to himself, this guy is 17 years old. He doesn't have any money. He doesn't work. He's studying. How is he going to be able to fix a motorcycle? What he didn't know is that Jose and his friend were really good at everything. Jose and his friend take the motorcycle out from where they had it stored one Saturday morning. They take it to a friend who is a mechanic, and he says to them, "You know what, guys? Well, if it needs work, I'll tell you how to do it, and you guys can do it yourselves." I'm not going to lie to you guys. It was 2 days of hard work and the motorcycle finally started. The mechanic looks at the guys and says, "Good job, guys, you did well. Go buy this handlebar that's missing. Go buy that." Obviously, Jose didn't have any money, but his friend did, and they went to get all the parts at a place in Mexico City called La Ronda. I don't know if it still exists, but it's a place where there are a ton of accessories for everything. They get the used parts, manage to put them on, the motorcycle starts up, and it's ready. The first thing the mechanic says to them is, "You can get on now, guys. Go ahead. Go enjoy this motorcycle." Right after that, the two guys look at each other and realize that neither of them knows how to ride a motorcycle. Their mechanic friend looks at them and says, "What's up, guys? You ready? Come on, go for it." The two of them look and say, "We don't know how to ride." Everyone laughs at them, and they end up pushing it with the engine running. All the way to Jose's house. They start learning how to ride a motorcycle. 3 or 4 months go by, the best months of Jose's life at that time. He feels free. He feels like he's dreaming. He learned how to ride a motorcycle. Girls love motorcycles. They feel happy. I think, without a doubt, Jose had one of the most epic moments of his life up to that point. But guess what? Nothing lasts forever. One day, out of nowhere, Jose's brother shows up. Jose's brother didn't go to his parents' house very often. If he went once every 6 months, that was a lot. At that moment, when he arrives, he realizes that Jose is riding a motorcycle and says to him, "Why did you take the motorcycle?" Jose says, "You told me that if I fixed it, I could use it." Something went through his brother's mind. Now, I understand that there was some problem with that motorcycle, that it probably didn't have the registration papers, or something was wrong with that motorcycle.
And he comes back and takes the motorcycle away from Jose.
He had taken away not only the motorcycle, he had taken away the only thing that gave him freedom, that made him feel good, that made him feel free, that gave him identity, that gave him self-confidence. And the thing is, at 17 or 18 years old, what kid has self-confidence? What teenager, what young person has self-confidence? You can't. At that age, you need to assert yourself, you need to learn. That's why I always tell them it's important to get close to your children. That's why I always tell them that a toy can change your life. And that motorcycle was a big toy. He takes it away from him again, and something breaks inside him. That day, they argued too much. Because if there was one thing Jose learned, it's that you had to keep your word. If there was one thing his mom taught him, it's that if you said something, you had to follow through. You couldn't back out. And that, indirectly, he owed to his own brother. Because when Jose's mom saw how his brother had grown up, she had taught him everything she hadn't taught Jose. She had taught him to keep his word. We had taught him to be a good person. She had taught him to be noble. Extremely noble. And in a world of demons, that's not good. He takes Jose's motorcycle, and it's still Jose's motorcycle. And he never sees it again. His brother had already taken away the toy he loved most twice.
Time goes by. Jose decides to distance himself from his family, especially from his brother. Because even though blood ties may pull you back,
I feel that sometimes it's necessary to cut ties when someone, especially your own family, doesn't keep their word. When at the end of the day, they don't keep their promises. A lot of things happened, family gatherings, Christmases, there were gifts, there were many other things, but inside Jose's heart, those two little things were still there. The first toy they took from him, that Jeep and the motorcycle, they also took from him. And yes, you might say things and judge, because it's really easy to judge. Jose was traumatized, Jose had a tough childhood, Jose didn't have to get obsessed with that, but it wasn't about the objects, it was about keeping your word, about having your word mean something.
your own family has to keep their word to you, to do what they say.
If not, something is very wrong. Time went by. Many years passed. The two brothers went on with their lives. And then the moment came that comes to us all. Guilt. Or at least, that's what I think. Jose's brother started looking for him a long time later, saying or commenting that they were family, that they should stick together, that they should have gatherings.
But Jose no longer believed. Jose said that people don't change.
He saw for many years how his brother went from being a police officer to becoming a judicial police officer, and from being a judicial officer, he moved on to many other political roles that he didn't believe in or agree with. What he could thank his brother for is that he always led an upright life. Before his mother died, she had told him to please do everything necessary to be a better person than his brother had been. And it's not about judging anyone. It's not about judging Jose's brother. It's about understanding that story and letting it help many parents right now, many siblings right now, who see a toy as something simple, who don't want to give a toy to their children, who suddenly take them away, who suddenly don't appreciate the value of each thing, or who say, give that toy to your brother, give that toy to your cousin, give this away since you don't use it anymore. No, they don't have to give it away. You don't have to force them to give something away if they don't want to. And mom shouldn't throw away their toys and things if they don't give permission, because that can mark someone's life forever. And if you don't believe me, listen to this ending. Time went by, and Jose's brother kept looking for him for many years. He invited him to Christmas dinners. Obviously, Jose grew up, started his own family. He moved away, went to live in another city, and Jose's brother kept searching. He sent him messages. He called him almost every day. In the end, but even though Jose wanted to change, wanted to get closer to him, that bond didn't exist, right? Jose's brother once, while talking to him, mentioned to him how it was possible that a stranger could be more of a brother than he was, even though he was his blood brother, right? He was referring to Jose's best friend, who has been his friend since he was 17, and to this day they are still friends, brothers, traveling together and talking every weekend. And that never happened with his real brother, with his blood brother. One day, 2022, 22, he says a call comes in, and it was him, Jose's brother. He says, brother, I'm sick. I just got sick with this virus. I don't know what's going to happen.
But you know I love you a lot.
Words that Jose never heard in 20 years. Words he would have loved to hear as a child when he needed them most. He would have liked to know that there was someone at that moment who loved him. The toy triggered something in Jose that he could no longer control. That's why I told you at the beginning that it's a feeling stronger than love. And I think that feeling is called indifference. When that feeling no longer exists in your heart toward a family member, toward your brother, and maybe Jose is wrong, there's no way to reactivate it anymore. That's why it's really important to give everything the value it deserves. It's true, a toy might not have strong emotional value for some people, but for others, it might. Jose's brother passed away aware of maybe not being a good brother, with the awareness that in the end, when he already knew he might be gone soon, he died at 63 years old,
which is actually young in this day and age. He was never able to get close to Jose the way he would have wanted.
And Jose couldn't get close to him either, even though he tried. Because he did try, and he was with him, and many times he went to his events, and many times he wanted to get closer, but that feeling that brothers have just wasn't there anymore.
Why am I telling you this story?
Because, as I said a moment ago, if I can get someone to understand the importance a toy can have for a child, even for a teenager,
we can make a change.
Nowadays, something that used to create a strong sense of identity is being lost.
Nowadays, toys are no longer given as gifts.
Tablets are given as gifts. Cell phones are given as gifts.
Without realizing that every toy can have a story, good or bad, like in this case. But in the end, it has a story.
And those stories will no longer be written.
Today, Jose is at peace because he knows he tried, but it's not something he can control. You can't control who you love, who you care about, or who is close to you.
He already forgave him for taking away that simple toy when he was a child. But that toy had a big impact on this young man's life.
To this day, Jose still hasn't managed to find that toy. He has seen it. But he doesn't have the courage to have that Jeep again because we don't know what it might trigger. Maybe forgiveness.
Maybe forgetting about it.
Maybe a game or a childhood memory.
We'll find that out in due time.
Today, brother, wherever you are, I want to tell you that I forgive you.
Not forgiving me or taking away that toy.
Because I understand that you wanted it for your son, who needed it more than I did at that moment. Or you thought he needed it more than I did. I forgive you for not being there. I forgive you for... Thanks to you, I found my future and discovered what I can live off of, which is toys. Don't judge someone who is sometimes tough because of what they've been through, and don't judge someone who might have an existential trauma or something going on in their head just because they didn't have a toy. It's better to support them. And yes, maybe there's a bit of craziness in this person, but I can assure you that he's a good person, and I can assure you that today he's at peace. I hope you enjoyed this story. A personal story, a powerful story, but one that I wanted to tell for many years, and that only today did I dare to do it. I love you all very much. Be happy. Give toys as gifts, gentlemen. Give toys to your children. Don't give them tablets. Don't give them strange things. Believe me, a toy can make all the difference in the near future. See you next time. Be happy. Goodbye. Bye. See.